David Freeman of HuffPost interviewed Neil deGrasse Tyson. They were talking about the resurrection of the great show Cosmos, and they had an interesting back and forth on the issue of religion and God, and I want to give you the exchange here. Freeman says to Tyson, "Do you believe in God?" He responds, "I presume you've specified which God you're asking about." "Define God as you would," says Freeman. Tyson says, "You're the one who's asking the question, so pick a God and ask me if I believe in that God." Freeman says, "The Judeo-Christian God." Tyson says, quote, "Okay, if that God is described as being all-powerful and all-knowing and all-good, I don't see evidence for it anywhere in the world, so I remain unconvinced. If that God is all-powerful and all-good, I don't see that when a tsunami kills 250,000 or an earthquake kills 250,000 people. I like to think of good as something in the interest of your health or longevity. That's a pretty simple definition of something that is good for you. That's not a controversial understanding of the word good. So if Earth in two separate events separated by just a couple of years can kill 500,000 people, then if the God as you describe exists, that God is either not all-powerful or not all good. And so, therefore, I am not convinced. God, meet an opponent who is better than you. Just absolutely crushed the idea of God there. And then this part I like even more. Freeman says, "Can science and religion be reconciled?" Tyson says, quote, "As religion is now practiced and science is now practiced, there is no intersection between the two. That is for certain. And it's not for want of trying. Over the centuries, many people, theologians as well as scientists, have tried to explore points of intersection. And anytime anyone has declared that harmony has risen up, it is the consequence of religion acquiescing to scientific discovery in every single case." So here's why I love everything that he had to say about this issue. I mean, it's so clear that a guy like Neil deGrasse Tyson, he's not ill-willed. He's not like this evil person like a lot of Christians try to make Richard Dawkins out to be or Christopher Hitchens out to be, which those guys are not that either, but it's the perception of a lot of dumb people. But Neil deGrasse Tyson, he's like an affable, happy kind of guy, and he just casually dismantled. He dismantled their thoughts, he dismantled their premise, he dismantled their idea, and he basically said, look, man, I'm a scientist, okay? If you want to claim something is true or claim if you want to make some sort of extraordinary claim to reality, you got to back it up. You got to present evidence. And there is no evidence for your claims. There is no evidence for this, the God of the Bible. And how could that have been proven? Well, if some of the prophecies in the Bible came true, well, then maybe it would be in the realm of possibility that we're dealing with something that's correct here. But that hasn't happened. That hasn't happened. How many times have fundamentalists called for the end of the world on this date because I'm interpreting this part of the Bible to mean X, and then it doesn't happen. And then people shrug it off and say, oh, well, whatever, I guess the Bible's still correct. No. If you actually evaluate the claims of religion like you would any other claim, then it all crumbles. If somebody walks in your house and says, hey, man, I wrote a unicorn here. You say, oh, really? Okay, where's the unicorn? If they can't present it, you say, you're fucking nuts. Here, try some Thorazine. Okay? If they do present it, then fine. You shut up and you're like, oh, look, there's a unicorn. Oh, look, he's flying on the unicorn. I've been convinced. That was very fascinating. That was interesting. But they don't do that. The burden of proof is on the people making the positive claim. The people who say, there's a God who created the earth, and this God did it 6,000 years ago, and this God is actually three people in one. It's the Trinity. And this God died for a few days and then came back to life and was on the cross and born of a virgin. And in the book that describes it, there was also a burning bush and a talking snake and a seven-headed dragon, and the stars in the sky is actually heaven shining through from above that, and just all these claims that are not true. They claim the earth is flat in the Bible. So if you haven't met your burden of proof, then you haven't met your burden of proof, and we're not going to accept what you say is true. And Neil deGrasse Tyson is right for pointing that out, and he does it in a very palatable, understandable way.